This is the saga of my ARTSail residency. The stories begin and end in the landscape around me. As an environmental activist, naturalist, birder, camper, explorer, and all-around wild thing, I'm most alive when I'm inside the scenery, tramping barefoot and muddy. We see Florida rapidly becoming a paradise lost, so we set out to explore her waterways in order to understand the bigger picture. After all, Florida is water. Along the way, we discovered lively, heroic characters and places so beautiful it was like stepping through time. We found plenty of heartache too, and both have inspired my work greatly. My art practice is driven by archival research and ways to make these issues more accessible to a widespread audience, but there is no substitution for direct observation and exploration. Maggie Harcella was a legend of environmental activism, sharp as a tack and tough as nails, incredibly funny and smart and ready to fight the good fight until the bitter end. Her home is an exact replica of the Reno Ranch in Miami, and it feels as if you've stepped through a door into the past. Real old Florida, you know?
What I'm noticing is the average is different, and you notice that in the vegetation. The secret passages that we're going to go through this afternoon. You could only go through at high tide.
Back your head.
You can now go through at half tide.
This is the Attorney General of the United States boat, Janet Reno. Apparently she was the most agile too on the kayak.
Without the mangrove along the salty, brackish coast of Florida, we would lose a whole lot of what South Florida is about. We'd lose the fishing, we'd lose the whole estuarine system from where the salt water moves up into the rivers all the way out into the ocean. The whole thing is interconnected.
We ended the kayak ride on a remote beach all to ourselves, literally called the end of the world. Drank gas station wine and listened to her recite all 96 lines of 40 Singing Seamen by Alfred Noyes from memory. Who does this anymore? Maggie was a warrior and a true wild woman, and though we continue her work, we are the worse for losing her.
So we're on the wide part of the St. Lucie River right now in downtown Stuart, and 2 years ago this area was green. The water we're looking at was green due to a toxic blue-green algae bloom that was prompted by Lake Okeechobee discharges. It's a beautiful community where people move for the water, and that's why people are so politically engaged on the issue of water, and we've seen really passionate uprising.
Water is so much a part of our everyday lives. It drives our economies. It's local livelihood.
Right now, as in many years past, polluted water from Lake Okeechobee is being discharged down the St. Lucie Canal into the river as a measure of flood control, largely for sugarcane fields south of the lake. If we weren't holding the lake so high in the dry season and then risking that it gets scary high in the wet season, then we could be sending more water south in the dry season when Everglades National Park and Florida Bay need it.
Right.
What's happening now is sugarcane farmers and others south of the lake want to hold the lake high in the dry season for irrigation. This has been going on for the better part of a century. Right now, the water isn't green, but we've seen many years past when those discharges result in toxic blue-green algae blooms, and that's something we're working hard to change at Friends of the Everglades.
I am Robert C. Mitchell, a community activist, born and raised right here in the Muck. This is Muck City, and as you see, as I say, this is our great lake, a gem, a pearl that is hidden. And we need to let more know about it. The sugar cane burning I have been experiencing since I was a young boy, and now I realized then, when I was getting hoarse then, it was always because of the burning in the air that affected my voice and other people's health. So I have in my family, I actually have a niece that is directly impacted. She has asthma. That doesn't run in our bloodline. That's not even something that we're all used to. So to me, it was no doubt it was the sugar cane. So when the wind is going to the east, they cannot burn over there. However, when it's going to the west, which is you have three main communities, Bay, Lake Okeechobee, and South Bay, that is majority African American community. Let it flow. Let it fall down, let it rain. And so once I knew the truth about that, I was like, oh no, it's something that I must do.
Robert's been working with the Stop the Burn campaign to improve the air quality and end sugarcane burning in favor of green harvesting. Most South Floridians don't realize that north of Lake Okeechobee, at what's considered the headwater of the Everglades, is this thriving ranching community. This makes them a vital component in the health of our water, so there's been a more concentrated effort on the part of environmentalists to work with the ranchers and to ensure the long-term health of the lake and the Everglades.
I'm Paul Gray. I work for Audubon, Florida, but I also have a little ranch with some cows. So when I'm not being an environmentalist, I've got to take care of my cows. Hey girls. We're right in the middle of a wetland slough. But if you look out here, you can see the wetlands. And I think when we get out there, we're gonna see these guys.
Birds are the way I first really started paying attention to the environment. They are an emblem of its beauty and its vast diversity.
When you hold water on properties, the longer it sits there, the more evaporation you get, the more percolation.
Right.
And so we think about 20% less water actually runs off your property because something else happens to it. And 20% less water is essentially 20% less phosphorus because it's, the water's in the phosphorus. So you do get a water quality improvement and not as much stuff goes downstream.
Well, also because marshlands are great carbon sinks, right? So the more we can actually bring the marshlands back, the more we can absorb carbon. So it's kind of a win-win.
Ready? Come on, baby.
Come on, babies.
Come on.
Good boy. Come on, big guy. There you go. Go on, ho, 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 ho.
And you see these cows, how level they are, and their backs are about the same, and they got good hips and good width. They're in really good shape. They should, in 45 days, these cows should have babies in them.
On Paul's airboat, we glided over just miles of these beautiful glittering marshes teeming with birds, endangered snail kites and whole flocks of glossy ibises. We encountered strange tree houses, and we even got to visit these magical pond apple forests that I've been obsessed with for a while, that were like something out of a fairy tale. What's made this ARTSail residency so wonderful is all this direct on-the-ground experience working with and meeting these incredible people. I want you to go out there and explore and even fall in love with and then defend what you know to be the real Florida. We love what we find beautiful and we protect what we love.